Welcome to Food and Loathing on Location. In our efforts to keep you as informed as possible on everything food-related that occurs in America's playground, Las Vegas, we are coming to you this episode from the show floor on the final day of the 2025 Winter Fancy Food Show. We've actually been here, Rich and I, on and off for the past several days. We have lots to tell you about. We're also hoping a few people may join us here at this table to chat with us about what's going on. You never know how shit like that happens when you're on the podcast. We'll see. And, of course, we have restaurant reviews and news for you, as always. When I say we, I am talking about myself, Al Mancini, and my engineer, Rich Johnson. Sadly, our planned reunion with Samantha Gemini Stevens is not happening today because she recently tested positive for COVID and did not want to infect the entire show floor here.
That's wonderful. It's the wonders of a 12-hour airplane flight followed by a 6-hour airplane flight.
Yeah, and you got to figure everybody in here is taking long airplane flights, and they're going to be flying back with whatever germs they pick up here. So I'm glad that she did the correct thing. As much as we miss her voice, we don't want to send people back to their little corners of the globe with more COVID.
Vegas's gift to the world. Yes.
There you go. Okay, so it's just me and you that reached this week. Rich, how you doing, man? How you been enjoying yourself here? What are you thinking of this show?
This is a lot bigger. I missed the last two for various reasons, not being in town, and I think I had COVID one year.
Yeah, I think you did.
So this is a lot bigger than the one 3 years ago, which was in the South Hall and seemed to take up a tiny little bit of that hall. There's a lot of things. I've walked myself ragged. I thought
this was just their third year. No? Am I getting confused?
1, 2, 3. Okay, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's 3.
I could be wrong.
Anyway, it's a bigger. I've had all kinds of interesting stuff. We'll share some of the explanations with some of the people dishing up all the neat little samples here. At a couple of restaurants around town I went to, and I love events like this because everybody wants to share.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. If you've never had the chance to come to the Fancy Food Show, honestly, I don't know what the credentialing process are.
It's an industry thing. You got to own a restaurant or own a store.
I think, is that it, man? You can't just pay your way in? Well, anyway, if you're involved in the industry, you should try to get in here. I usually see all the people I know from Vegas restaurants around town, so I assume it's relatively easy for people in the industry to get in. Should they ever come back to Las Vegas, I don't know that they are next year, but should they come back, and hopefully we're going to get Bill Lynch down here to talk to us about all that. But I would recommend wherever you see a fancy food show, you should go, especially if you're a cheese fan. Like, I got to tell you,
God.
Cheese is like this. They should just call this the Fancy Cheese Show,
yes,
man.
Indeed. The International Cheese Show.
Yeah, and it's fucking insane. I mean, my wife is like a person who will always substitute cheese for like anything. I don't need dessert, I'll have cheese. I don't need appetizers, I'll have cheese. And she got filled up on cheese yesterday to the point that she couldn't eat anymore. But all kinds of cool stuff, and we'll be talking about it. Some of it's weird, some of it's crazy, some of it is just new spins on gourmet products that we already knew. I did a little competition that I'm going to tell you about in a while. I hosted it. I was not in the competition for people with new products, pitching them. So we got a lot going on. This is going to be a weird show. We're not exactly going to be using our normal format. We're going to do our restaurant reports in the top of the show, also tell you about a Henderson Winery's anniversary, and we'll have news, including an interview with Amari's Alan Mardonovich. Towards the end of the show, he'll be talking about his upcoming pop-up at Sparrow Wolf. Not quite yet. I want to get you in the mood before we do any of that for what goes on at the Fancy Food Show beyond just the showing of cool products. So I'm going to take you back to Sunday morning. Yeah, I got out of bed early on a Sunday morning, man. And I was here at 10 a.m., which, it's a Sunday. If you're not either religious or football religious, I don't know why you should be up and out at that time. But keynote speaker Chef Scott Conant was interviewed by our friend Petrania Bulsuan, and it was a fantastic interview. Scott was kind enough to give me a shout out from the stage. He also broke a little news. So let me just play that little clip where Scott breaks his news about what is next for celebrity chef Scott Conant.
So let's get to this breaking news if you've been following this, because we were here at a trade show where we're unveiling new things and new products and trying to make it break out so that people are watching it, right? And I know we're going to talk about your experience there, but you're coming out with your own new product this year.
So, I would argue that there's probably been no one in this country who's gotten more press on a tomato sauce than I have. And I took a hard look in the mirror a long time ago, and restaurants are, and I think anyone who's in the restaurant business would say that restaurants are increasingly difficult. A tremendous amount of effort, not a lot of reward. And so I decided to take a big swing and start a CPG line of my own. We're calling it Martone Street. I'm putting my tomato sauce in a jar. And we're doing...
First time ever you're doing.
This is my first time that I'm taking my recipe, 100% fresh tomatoes, peeled, seeded, only cooked for about 40 minutes or so, 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the size of the batch. And we're going to launch with Sprouts in the next few months. And right now we're finishing up the paperwork with my investment group. I've been working on this for about 2 years now, and we are super excited about it.
Well, congratulations. So again, it's called Martone Street.
Martone Street. Martone Street is where my grandfather had built a home when he moved to this country from Italy. And it was where every Sunday we would spend time with the family and eating my grandmother's food or his second wife. My grandmother passed away when I was young, so his second wife is where my mother or my aunts would cook as well. And that sense of sitting around the table, that sense of conviviality, I feel like to a certain extent it's kind of lost in our culture. But I do feel like that when you talk about that old world hospitality, it resonates with people. Despite what your cultural background is, that sense of place, that sense of family, that sense of connectivity really resonates.
And I think you're touching on something that is really important, especially with people out here working on their brand, trying to make their products like yours to stand out. It's a story behind it. And you shouldn't be afraid to share that story and make that your selling point, right?
Well, I think the big word more than anything else is authenticity. Like what resonates with you? What is your story? How do you move that forward? From a marketing perspective is simply a promise. And I think the product itself needs, and that goes for anything, for restaurants in particular, you're making a promise to your guest, and you need to deliver on that promise, right? I mean, I'm fortunate that I have a little bit of a platform. Some people know who I am. There's the reason why I started doing television in the first place was because I was opening Scarpettas, and it just made sense that the more appeal I had on throughout this country, the more people would come into my restaurants. Whether it was because they wanted to experience it or they just thought I was an asshole and they wanted to prove me wrong, But the intention was always to make people happy, right?
And, you mentioned because you do have that platform, you do go on the Club Network, you get to chance to promote your product in that way. But I think in this day and age now with social media, right, that there are ways that people can tell their own stories and how to being their own reporter. So talk to us about that in this culture of celebrities and influencers. I mean, how important is it to kind of use that to get your product across?
Well, I mean, I think it's everything.
So, oh man, I love Scott's sauces. So being able to buy his sauces and make them at home, I mean, that's just awesome. Honestly, I was itching to ask him. I was going to get up there and get on the little microphone to ask questions and ask him how much butter goes into a jar of that tomato sauce. But I felt like I might come off like being a dick about it, but I wasn't. I love that tomato sauce because there's so much fucking butter in it. It's just add more butter, add more butter. And then after the show, Scott was mobbed with people. Everybody wanted to see him. He's a rock star, man. You do that chopped
coast
for
to coast.
Yeah, do chopped for 18 years, man, and everybody wants to talk to you, man. Of course, he's a great chef as well, but I didn't want to jump into the middle of that just to get a little more audio with him, so I gave him his space. He did message me since then, and we're hoping we can get him on to tell us more about those sauces when we get a little closer to the release date on that. But again, the reminder, Sprouts is where you want to keep your eyes on the lookout for Scott's stuff.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so there's our first bit of Fancy Food Show news. Before we get to more Fancy Food Show stuff, let's do the restaurant report segments of our show that we normally do. Rich, have you dined in any Las Vegas restaurants over the past week that deserve a mention?
Two that deserve a bit of mention. Just a quick apple tart, an apple Danish at Rosalie's French Café. Is it Rainbow or Durango? I forgot. It's one of those streets out that way.
Rainbow, I believe.
Rainbow, yeah. I was going in there. I needed a little coffee hit. Saw the beautiful array of pastries and said, oh, yeah, give me that apple thing. And it was fantastic. It's a little place in a strip mall on Rainbow, a little north of the 215. It's not easy to find, but it's there.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty good. I got to go back there for some sandwiches, some lunch. It's all decked out, though, in Valentine's Day stuff. They took a Christmas tree and made it a Valentine's tree.
That should be your reminder that if you didn't make Valentine's Day reservations for dinner yet, get off your ass because you're probably already screwed.
Yeah. So I need to get a little more from there. I also had another, something we talked about when it first opened up, the Cheongdam Food Hall, Durango and Spring Mountain, I believe.
Across from Desert Breeze Park.
Yeah, an old 99-cent store that's been turned into a mini food hall. I think there are 5 or 6 locations in there, including Smile Shota, another all-you-can-eat sushi place, 2 weeks in a row for all-you-can-eat sushi for me. And I believe it actually is owned by the same folks, the sushi...
Neko?
Sushi
Neko,
because the same style with just a tiny bit of rice and the tailing of a piece of salmon or tuna that goes off, and it needs more rice, but that's okay. It was absolutely excellent. And
just to clarify, we're not 100% sure that it's owned by the same people.
No, we're
it's
not.
Just that it reminded you of the style.
It was the same cut, and I've never seen that style anyplace else in town. But then, I don't get out much. And there's 4 or 5 other places in there, a place doing Japanese curry, a sandwich shop is on the way, and what else is on the way here? Authentic Korean food, a Chinese fusion thing. There's some coffee called Broken Coffee, and so it's a nice little thing that's really not in the Chinatown portion of Spring Mountain Road because it's way west.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it sounds fun, man. I have been wanting to try that place, so I'll make it sooner rather than later. As for me, I still had a busy week, even though there's a lot of other shit going on.
You're you.
I dropped by Basilico just to see what's new. This, of course, is the fantastic Italian restaurant by Chef Francesco Di Caldo in the Southwest Valley. So within that Evora complex, which is kind of a high-priced rental complex that's being built and slowly moved into over on the intersection of Buffalo and Patrick Lane. Honestly, my timing could not have been better because Chef Francesco, who, of course, you may recall from, he was at Ferraro's for a while. He helped open Anima by EDO. So he's just an absolutely fantastic chef. And he had just added several dishes to both the dinner menu and the happy hour menu at Basilico. So a few things Sue and I tried over there the first time. Some mussels, which were fantastic, with garlic, black pepper, tomatoes. Some crispy potatoes with what they call a tomato fondue. And these really just look like, those thin sliced potatoes. They're very similar to like the patatas brava that you may have at like an EDO or someplace like that. They're also similar to, a little sliced potato kind of casserole sort of thing that you might get with, a fine dining meal to come with your meat or something like that.
Not a chip, but thicker than a chip.
No, they were, I'm talking about something that's probably about an inch high of just layer after layer of potato cut into those cubes. So it's really good. That was great. Oh man, quail tortellini. And basically a tortellini and brodo. I don't think that's how it's listed on the menu, but tortellini and broth. So they bring these tortellini to the table. They're with black pearl mushrooms, and then the chef pours the broth tableside. Oh my God, so good. If you don't think you like quail, try it. I think you're going to love this. It was so earthy, so rich. Fucking wonderful dish. Also, Chef put meatballs on the menu, which I think is the first time he's ever had meatballs on the menu. So go and check them out. We enjoyed those. And saffron risotto with black garlic, parsley sauce, and candied lemon. And I have to say, there's a lot of richness going on in that risotto, but the parsley sauce was so bright, so springtimey, and then the candied lemon on top of that, they just cut through it, and they gave it this sort of lightness, this sort of brightness that really cut through everything going on in this heavy risotto. So I would highly recommend that. Where else have I been? Huge media dinner at Tim Ho Wan in the Palms. I guess everybody knows where that is. It's over by the newer section of the Palms, down in the ground floor.
Yeah, it used to be open parking lot, and they just made it into more casino, and Tim Ho Wan enclosed it.
And this is a restaurant that's been crushing it since they opened over there. It's another one of those restaurants that's sort of a chain restaurant, international chain. The originals have Michelin recognition over in Asia, I believe. But they really just crush it here. And they brought out a huge feast. I mean, this was a massive group. I think we had 4 tables of media people and lots of fun, really good company. Lots and lots and lots of dim sum. I mean, a big barbecue
That's what they do.
bun.
That's it.
A truffle scallop shumai, which was really fucking good. Little thin slice of scallop on the top of it, and then the truffles shaved on top of that, some hargao, some crab and shrimp fried dumpling, some eggplant stuffed with shrimp, shrimp rice rolls, beef rice rolls also, a fried shrimp ball, spicy dumplings. I mean, a lot of shrimp they were handing us, by the way, you'll hear. But lots of good stuff going on there. So Tim Ho Wan, a great reminder. And then to show us they do more than just the dim sum, they brought out a huge seafood platter. And this is where we had Alaskan king crab legs, some sea bass, some jumbo prawns, even some abalone that was done really well. It was nice and tender. I skipped dessert, as I always do after these huge feasts, but I'm sure it was fine. No offense to the pastry chef there. Another angry pastry chef pissed at me because I skipped dessert. But I'm fat already, and, there's only so much I could do. What else? I finally made it into Rang's Cocina, which is an adorable little spot on Charleston near Jones that's run by a husband and wife team. They offer Italian and Spanish cuisine with Asian influence. Really no sense of rhyme or reason in that menu that I've been able to figure out. It recently received the Rising Star Award at the Nevada Restaurant Association's Culinary Excellence Award. And, I mean, there were a lot of big people being honored. Our friends, like Gio from Monzu, Giamaro, and a lot of good people. So these guys scored this award for being an up-and-coming restaurant, Rising Star, and I of course said, well, I'm way overdue for getting out there, so I went. I did not do I didn't dig deep, right? I went in for lunch. I was by myself. I wanted to introduce myself to the menu. I decided I would do some carbonara, because that to me is just a classic. Let's see how you do it.
Bedrock thing.
And they hit all the marks that I'm looking for in carbonara. They didn't make it ultra creamy to go with the American palate. The guanciale, which is always a great sign when they use guanciale instead of something else, it was really super crispy, right? Like almost how that bacon super ultra crispy where it almost crumbles in your mouth when you eat it. Nice and salty, really wonderful. So I enjoyed that dish a lot. And then I had some bacala or salted cod fritters or croquettes, basically, right? Some croquetas. We have lots of those at our Spanish restaurants in town. I don't know anybody else that does the bacala, and it was really, really good. I enjoyed them quite a bit, so I need to get back in there.
I have never heard of this place until you've now shared it with me, but the location, I just throw a little prejudice out there, is a place like that with some pretty high cheese stuff, a fit in that neighborhood, Jones and Charleston?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they seem to be catching on. They seem to be drawing a crowd. Maybe they would have drawn one faster if they were in a neighborhood that was a little more, foodie.
A little more west on Charleston.
Yeah, but, people are going to find good restaurants in this town. I mean, they really are, and especially the fact that locals have almost given up on going to the Strip unless it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
So we tend to be a lot more willing to explore different neighborhoods. It doesn't have to be in your backyard, the neighborhood restaurants. And I would explore this place. I mean, obviously, it's not just me. Nevada Restaurant Association, they know what the fuck they're talking about. Lots of friends of mine have been recommending the place. Go check it out. I'm going to have them on the show. I'll get in there. We'll have more.
It's not that we don't want to go to the Strip. We don't need to go to the Strip because there's so many but decent alternatives and beyond decent alternatives in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the Strip, especially since COVID, has kind of almost jumped that shark to becoming like a Times Square. Right? Where if you live there, you don't go all that often unless you're entertaining your guests or unless you want to see a show or unless you have a reason to be there. Now, I mean, this doesn't apply to me or you, hopefully, because we talk about food and we have reasons to be on the Strip all the time. And I encourage people to go on the Strip, but I've been encouraging people to go to the Strip for 20 fucking years, and they get less and less likely to go. And my arguments get weaker and weaker as it goes on because the parking gets more and more expensive. That really pisses off locals, whether it's fair or not. I mean, I understand why there's paid parking, but, people get pissed off about that. And really, you see a lot fewer locals discounts on the Strip than you used to. You see a lot fewer bargains. I mean, it's like going to Orlando and dining in Disney World. I mean, the food's fantastic, but you're paying Disney World prices.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to the Magic Kingdom, you may not go, right? And I feel like that's where locals are starting to feel about the Strip. And after 20 years of banging my head in the wall and saying, fuck you, go to the Strip, you're missing out on everything. In this amount of time, so much great food has come to the off-Strip area that you don't need to go to the Strip if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I still think it's a fantastic treat. I think people should do it. I think you should, save up for some of these world-class restaurants. But Agreed, man. Explore the local neighborhoods, and if that means going into a neighborhood you're not that familiar with, man, you're going to get some great bargains.
Yeah.
Okay, there's my public service announcement. On Saturday, I attended the 7th anniversary party for Vegas Valley Winery. It was a great event. Had the chance to speak with Patty Peters, who is the co-owner and operator of both Vegas Valley Winery and Grape Expectations Winemaking School, which is attached. And I began by asking her how it felt to make it to 7 years.
Well, it feels pretty darn good. And I almost cussed right then, but I'm really, really happy. We all are happy.
What inspired you to open a winery and, this whole thing 7 years ago in an area that, was not exactly where people would expect it to go?
Well, we've been here for a little bit longer than that. We have a facility called Grape Expectations where people come to make their own barrel of wine. Been doing that now for about 18 years. So when the law changed in 2015 to allow wineries, it was just a no-brainer for us. So we went ahead, carved out a little bit of Grape Expectations and put in Vegas Valley Winery. Got, certified at the state and the federal level, and we opened our doors 7 years ago.
And that's about it for me this week on Restaurant Reports and where I've been. Rich, what do you say we take a break right now, then we come back. We'll see who drops by our table, if anybody drops by our table at the floor of the Fancy Food Show. Then we'll play some of those interviews we recorded during the first 2 days of the show. Does this sound like a way to go?
Sounds like the way to go. This is Food and Loathing.
So, we have been here now on the floor of the Fancy Food Show. This is day 3 for us. We have been wandering around. We've been eating like pigs. We've been getting full. We've been trying to get stuff to take home and stock our cupboards.
Oh, yeah.
Today's the big day when everybody gets crazy, man. And people show up like with entire pallets that they want to load up.
Oh, yeah. Little wagons around here.
Yeah, because what happens is all these people bring so much amazing food out here to show off. And, of course, they all want to have great displays packed with their products. So they pack their shelves.
Yeah, like little mini stores.
Yeah, I mean, some of these are like bigger than the deli section at your corner fucking grocery
Yeah.
store with meats and shit. And, you get little samples on day 1 and day 2 and early in day 3. But then probably about 3 hours from where we're talking right now, they start packing things up and they start realizing what the price is to ship all that shit back home that they brought out here. And a lot of them just start handing it away and people go crazy, man. They stock their closets for years.
Yeah.
I don't really become that big of a scrounge, but it is fun to watch.
I'm going to be that big of a scrounge. I've got a bag. I got an auxiliary bag. I've been scouting that out for a while. So this is so much nicer policy than CES, Consumer Electronics Show, where they tell those people, do not sell your display stuff on the last day. You can't do it. People do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a beautiful, about a 2.5 foot high replica of an old classic Coke machine. That was a fridge that held about 8 Cokes inside 1 year.
Cool.
Got rid of it now, but it was fun to see there, and it was very pretty.
Awesome, man. What have you been eating while we've been out here on the floor? You talk to anybody? Have you done anything?
Oh, yeah. Cheese, and more cheese.
Yeah.
One of the standouts was a Wesley Dale with lemon and honey inside. I always like, Wesley Dale is the cheese that a cartoon saved.
You're going to have to explain that one.
Wallace and Gromit, the beloved British cartoon. You've never seen Wallace and Gromit?
I have not.
It's stop motion thing. They've been around for 20 plus years.
They're kind of like Gumby, right?
Yeah, only much nicer and better values. But Wallace was a big fan of Wesley Dale, and his mention of that in this worldwide popular cartoon saved the brand.
Wow.
Or not the brand, but the type of cheese, which is kind of chalky and crappy. But I like Wesley Dale with cranberries inside, and I love this Wesley Dale with the honey and lemon inside. I saw over here a cheese. Not sure I liked it all that much, but I admire their pluck. It's from Cyprus, and it's a little goat and it's a little cow and some other stuff together. Harumi, I think it was called, or halloumi, is the type of cheese. They're trying to sell some of that stuff. Guys I guess they're selling pre-made sushi for grocery stores or something like that. And I'm thinking, oh, that's not such a great idea. But they were handing out fresh tuna and salmon all day, so I'll take their samples.
Yeah.
I had some salsa from Pakistan. Which is just Mexican salsa, cumin, and all that, but it's a company that makes all kinds of spices and sauces and condiments, mostly sold in Asia and Europe, and now they're trying to get into North America. And it was a good classic salsa, nothing fancy. Wagyu. There is a Wagyu thing over there, and they're cooking up real no-shit Wagyu.
Yeah, a lot of
A5.
Japanese Wagyu out here.
Yeah.
Not all of it A5. I had a conversation with somebody about that. I don't know if I'm going to play that one because a little bit of language barrier. We'll see. But and then I saw people with cuts of Wagyu that like you don't expect. Somebody actually said like you want some Wagyu roast beef or something, right?
Yeah.
So that was a little weird.
They were cutting up little sushi-sized pieces and frying it in its own fat, like 30, 40 seconds on a side, and it was just, heaven.
Yeah.
And then they have a big raw piece there that it's got to be 7/8 fat and 1/8 muscle. But the guy says, that's the magic of the fat, especially of the real stuff.
Yeah.
And you can get everything is transparent in Providence, and you can get the certificate with the cow's nose print.
You need the nose print. And so have you, Rich, I know you don't go to these media events as often as I do. You don't meet these chefs and talk about this stuff. Have you, before you came here, have you actually seen those big slabs of Wagyu and how that fat is so speckled in there that it looks like snowflakes? You know?
I would say it's the other way around, that the muscle is speckled in there amongst the fat.
Yeah,
and it's fantastic.
It's amazing. So opposite from when you speak to people who've only had American beef, and you go, well, there's so much fat on this, and they're picturing like these big veins of gristle, right, or something. It's nothing like that.
The first time I had that was in Sapporo, Japan, at a presidential, it was an Asian summit, on the island of Hokkaido, and they were doing up Wagyu sushi. The little triangle on a bed of rice, and the woman who was serving it up, and I forget her name, but if you remember the original Japanese version of Iron Chef, an older woman who was a regular judge on that was there through a translator, but it was really something. And she had said, I said it was from the Northwest, and she said her father was the guy who invented putting oyster seeds on rope hanging in the bay. And they did that in Olympia and Puget Sound, domestic farmed oysters on these big hunk of things of rope. This is back in the 1930s or something like that. So that was kind of cool, but that was great. I want to do a little visual aid here. The folks at AWI, I think it is, importers of a zillion British and Irish things for retailers. She handed me 3 packages of potato chips, lightly salted, mature cheddar and onion, and prawn cocktail.
Oh, those
crisps.
Brits love their prawn crisps.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever had one, but I'm going to try.
Have you been to England?
I have, but I always avoided that. I like HP sauce instead.
Okay, that's all munch in.
So, I don't know. There's something red there, but I don't get, maybe a little bit of prawn.
I get more of the cocktail sauce flavor that goes with
that's
prawn.
It, yeah.
Let's be honest.
Not as challenging as I thought it would be. It's still a nice crisp, as they say in England.
It's a fucking potato chip, man. You can make them taste like anything these days. People will eat them.
As we continue to work on this stuff, I continue to scout the things I'm going to grab my bag for and scarf some samples in about 2 hours.
Cool. It's funny. We're sitting here right next to a booth. We got a great guitarist that was playing me songs about mooses yesterday. So I'm going to invite him to sit down, hopefully chat with us in a second. But before we do, let's talk about some of the things that let me just play for you some of the things that I had over the past couple of days. Look, it's the fancy food show, so let me start with the fanciest of foods, caviar and foie gras, right? The next 2 interviews I'm going to play to you are with Ali Bulurchi, I believe, President and CEO of Tsar Nikolai Caviar, and then that'll be followed by Dana Lamel, Director of Sales for Hudson Valley Farms, which, of course, is the big foie gras farm. We start off with Dana talking foie gras, and it'll be pretty obvious when I switch to Ali at the Caviar Company, so you just follow along at home.
We're here showcasing our foie gras, but also all of our duck and chicken products that we produce. We've been in business for 40 years, and we started off as Hudson Valley Foie Gras, but have recently rebranded as Hudson Valley Farms because we're so much more than just foie gras these days.
So is the expansion beyond foie gras, does that have to do with all of the in and out of fashion that foie seems to go? The controversies come, the controversies go. Do you just feel the need to diversify, or are these just products you love to make?
It more comes from being able to use every part of the animal, and that's where everything comes from. So, raising the ducks for the foie gras, selling the raw proteins after we break down the ducks, but then further processing them, even using the bones for bone broths. So it's really about total utilization of the animal more than diversifying because of the foie gras.
Okay, cool. How is the market for foie gras? Here in Las Vegas, it never went away, right? And every time I turn around, more things with foie gras, more things with caviar, more luxury items. How is it nationwide? How's foie gras doing as in popularity?
We're seeing an uptick again in foie gras. It fluctuates a little bit. New York tried to put a ban on it, but last year the New York Supreme Court actually ruled that it was illegal to ban a agricultural product. So we're seeing a rise in sales again, which makes us happy, obviously.
I've never had the chance to visit your farms. I know people who have, and I've always heard the story that those ducks, even the foie gras ducks, lead probably the best lives of any commercially raised animals in America, right? So could you talk a bit, because there is such a stigma attached to foie. Foie ducks have a pretty good life, don't they?
I would say so. I mean, we're very careful about the way that we raise our animals. We have an open door policy, so anybody is welcome at any time to come in, and there's no secret door that, behind the scenes. What you see if you come on a tour is the same that we do every day. It's in our best interest to really take care of these animals. If we don't take care of them, they don't produce a good product, and then we have nothing that we can sell. So the farmers work with the ducks from start to finish. So the same farmer will work with that flock, and they form a relationship, and we're really just imitating the migratory process of feeding that the ducks naturally go through. We're just doing it in a controlled environment.
Yeah, and I love that you educate people on that. I've been trying to educate people on that my whole food writing career. I think yours is the farm that Anthony Bourdain recorded a video at, right? Are you familiar with that at all?
Yes. Yeah. So we're the first producers of foie gras in the United States, and we're also the largest.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it, man. Everything's delicious.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we are the largest sturgeon farm in North America, and we actually represent the oldest sturgeon farms in the world. So what we're representing here at the Fancy Food Show, or Specialty Food Show, if you will now, is an ancient delicacy done under California sunshine. So we are the nation's only certified, sustainable, third-party audited sturgeon farm that features an indigenous white sturgeon. We're a nose-to-tail operation, so you're tasting everything from the caviar to the meat of the fish as well, in a myriad of different smoked fish and dips, and everything that is caviar and sturgeon all in one.
So how long has your company been in business?
Since 1984.
1984, okay. How much has the farming of caviar changed in the 40 years since you opened?
It has changed a lot. So what I would say is, in its infancy, with the help of UC Davis, we were trying to prove that aquaculture produced sturgeon would actually render caviar. So now the focus is on getting as close to the flavors historically of wild caviar, freshly salted sea butters, antibiotic steroid-free, hormone-free, having no land-based feeds, that grass-fed analogies. That's really the future of sturgeon farming now, is in the finer details and really rendering, an unparalleled caviar experience for the user.
I mean, I remember when I started writing about food, maybe 2001, 2002, the general consensus was that farm caviar had a long way to go before anybody was going to take it seriously. I still write about food here in Las Vegas, and I eat farmed caviar all the time. It's absolutely fantastic. It seems to be a quick change. You guys seem to have locked it in over the past decade or two.
That's fair. And I mean, it's so you want to think of us as a winery. We often feel Sacramento County, where we're from, one day we'll be the Napa County of caviar. And our vintages are about 6-7 years out. So the work we do today, we're going to realize in around the 2030s. So I think the way to look at caviar's explosion as far as the category and the quality of it is the obsession of farmers throughout the world, but specifically, Northern California, where it really started. We produce a eater's caviar. Salted butter is a signature note That sea butter flavor is a distinguished flavor of white sturgeon caviar. It's indigenous to the Pacific coast. It's the second largest freshwater sturgeon in the world. And, we do it with a lot of love. It's a slow food. So I think, has it gotten better? Yes. As you look at me, I exercise to look like this. So, food is a critical part of what I do, whether it was my studies of food science or my obsession of growing award-winning caviar. So,
cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time and for explaining how that works.
Do you care to try a sample on your way out?
Absolutely. I'll never say no to caviar.
Cheers. Cheers.
Well, look at this. People are dropping by.
I love it when they drop by, man. We're here with Jimmy Z. Jimmy,
hey, how you doing?
How are you, man? I saw you 2 days ago. You were playing a little song for me. You sent me home with some something with moose in the title.
No, the Damn Tasty Beavers.
Oh, the Beavers.
Yeah.
You sent me home with the Beavers. That's right.
And I sang that song. Do you remember?
You did. So let's talk about what you're here for before we get into the songs.
Yeah. So I make. I'm actually a musician from Canada.
Okay.
Nominated for Best Blues Artist of the Year.
Wow.
And,
at the Junos?
No, the West Coast Music Awards.
Okay, I was just trying to pretend I knew something about Canada there.
That's cool. But so and I started a couple of years ago. I started making chocolates and Damn Tasty Beavers, and we own Maple Buds in Canada. And so I brought it down to the States, and it's been fantastic. Americans love beaver. They love eating beaver.
What is, ain't no argument there, but what is in your Damn Tasty Beavers?
Okay, it's made with pure milk chocolate and no palm oil, and it's got fillings with maple.
Okay.
For example, we have a whiskey one, and we have an easy beaver. We have a Saturday Night Beaver, which is maple almond.
And now, are these beavers? Are these a traditional Canadian thing, like a Caesar or
No, they're kind of like my friend had a mold that looked like a beaver, and he said,
okay.
and he asked me to sell hedgehogs. I said, no, everybody's got hedgehogs. He said, I got this beaver, Jim, and I said, great. So we started the product. We have we started taking that to the show, and people loved it.
Cool. So are they available here in the United States?
Yeah, World Market has them. We have them in a lot of touristy shops. Niagara Falls is the number one selling item.
Okay, cool. Well, look, why don't you play a little for us? Let people know, how you're entertaining us.
Beavers in the morning, beavers in the evening, beavers around supper time. Love them tasty beavers, I eat them all the time. Get the beavers.
Cool. You got another song for us, or is that your
Sure,
one?
I hear you for you. Left a message on your window, left a message on your phone. Don't want you back here no more. Gonna keep on moving, gonna keep on moving on. And mind my own business once you are gone. There's one thing I wanna know. Do you miss me when you're all alone? Yeah, there's one thing I want you to know. Even if you miss me, I ain't coming home.
Beautiful, my friend. Beautiful. Well, thanks for telling us about your beavers.
Thank you.
We had a good time, man. And one more time, name of the company, where people can find out more information.
Jimmy Z's, jimmyz's.com. JIMMYZEES.com. Damn Tasty Beavers.
Cool. Thanks a lot for your time,
man.
my friend. Good to see you.
Take care.
Well, that was fun. I just make sure that song is his original composition and we don't get sued for
Yeah.
I think the other thing was public domain, so we're good.
You know what? We'll wait until we get our fucking cease and desist order.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to sue me. They don't understand the meaning of the word judgment proof. So, man, this is fun for me. The people at the fancy food shows have always been so great for me to deal with. I've worked with them all their years here in Vegas, and this is the second year in a row that they invited me to kind of MC what they call Fancy Face-Off.
Whoa.
And this is a little bit like a Shark Tank type of situation. That there's a big prize package that the winner got. These were all startups that were out here talking about what they had, and they got to speak really in front of buyers for a lot of big companies, right? So the three judges for this event were Casey Gaston, the executive leader of local and emerging brands for Whole Foods Market, James Wren, the director of snacks and indulgence for Thrive Market, and Brandon Ung, the senior vice president of Houlihan Lokey. So, these are some people that could put some products in stores and sell some
move
shit
some units
for you,
there,
right?
man. Yeah.
And they're all great people, man. I had a lot of fun with them backstage when they were doing the tastings. And they had four really amazing entrepreneurs come up. We had a company called Freeze Cake, which was Jennifer Schwartz. This is basically freeze-dried cheesecake. right?
Oh,
so
okay.
it was like me and one of the judges both said it's like astronaut food. You remember when you were a little kid?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Because we're so fucking old,
room
right?
temperature ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like that. So that was fun. Keep your eyes open for that one. We had another Guilherme Maia Silva from a company called Milkish. Now, I've heard a lot about them before I saw this. They are making milk from watermelon seeds.
Whoa.
And it is a lot less water and shit to produce than it is to produce almond milk. It's a lot better for the environment. So, yeah, you want watermelon milk. Milkish is the company. They are out there, and they were showing off what they had.
Did you get to taste any?
I didn't try the Milkish.
Oh,
I did try the cheesecakes, and they were fun. And Melody Stein from Piowa. And this was it's P-I, like the pie, the number, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 00, because 00 flour for pizzas, right?
Yeah.
If you want genuine Neapolitan pizza. And then because I don't know what the fuck else to say after that. Piowa. And first of all, this is a deaf-run business. So she actually gave her entire presentation in sign language with the translator there. It was really cool. They spoke a lot about what they do to encourage jobs for deaf people and to give jobs to deaf people. So you got to love their community involvement there. I had one of their pizzas backstage. Now, they're saying genuine Neapolitan pizza with weird flavor profiles, right? The one that I had backstage was it was miso and eggplant. Right? So it tasted nothing like pizza.
Yeah.
It tasted like a fantastic Mediterranean meets Japanese flatbread, and I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. If I had been wanting pizza, I would have been like, this is not the frozen pizza I was hoping for. There was no sauce. There was none of the cheese. There's none of that kind of shit. It was a vegan product, but really, really good. They ended up winning the competition, and and then we had Stephanie McGregor from Ringo, which is a soft drink basically company, and she was fantastic. So I just want to thank everybody for having me in to do that. I had a lot of fun. It's always fun to work with the Fancy Foods people. I got to hang out with some incredibly brilliant entrepreneurs, which is a guy who's been an entrepreneur for 3.5 years and is banging his head against the wall. I mean, I have to tell you, if you have a new food-related product on the market, you really do want to come to the Fancy Food Show. And I just had so much fun doing it. I'm not going to play you any tape of me fucking up my parts or doing the wrong thing or, reading from the wrong cue card or anything. Those guys all said I did a good job, so I'm going to pretend I did. And, that was it. So that was one more thing I did over the weekend.
Yeah.
Over the week, I should say. Then,
did you drive here, or did you take the tube, the tunnel?
No, I drive here, man. I still don't get that Elon Musk
I love
tunnel
the tunnel,
thing.
man. I park at Resorts World, and I get in that thing, and Elon is personification of evil. But
I don't want to go off on Elon post-election Elon, because nobody wants to hear politics on the show.
No.
I always thought the guy was a fucking scam artist before that, and I find that tubes that he's building to be just absurd for what they are. But so no, I don't take them. I parked here.
I actually enjoy that thing and think it's the future of mass transit such as it is in Las Vegas.
So basically cornering the market on your own car brand and selling them instead of fucking electric subway trains, that's a better idea?
I would love there to be such a thing, but, he's financing it himself. I don't think that the government's had anything to do with these tunnels, the boring tunnels.
Well, the government, I do not know. I don't know.
I know there's
honestly,
been some
I hope
concern
it works
about
out.
things.
I do. I hope it works out. I love that people are enjoying it. It's never made sense to me personally. And I love being at Resorts World. I love being over here. I don't see the need to go underground and take a Tesla here. It's just fucking weird to me. It really is. Now, if they still had the West Hall open here, and I had to take between halls at the convention center, or I'm sorry, the
South Hall. Yeah.
If they still had the South Hall open and I had to go from where we are right now at the new hall all the way down there, I would take that fucking thing all day, because I have worn my feet to nubs at Consumer Electronics Show doing that. So I am glad it's there for that. And I'm not here to bash anything. It's just, it doesn't resonate with me, man. And not everything has to resonate with every motherfucker. True. This is Vegas. We got something for everybody.
We'll agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I'm just weird, and you're regular, so your opinion matters more. So, hey, this is the Fancy Food Show, but there are some things on display that have to do with fancy beverages. Yesterday, I spoke to reps of 2 companies who want to help people really up their home cocktail game. So I'm going to play both of those together for. First up, we're going to have Vanessa Liniger of Ice Blocks and Ready Ice. And she's going to talk about getting those really fantastic fucking cubes and spheres, getting them pre-made for your house, put them in your freezer, and then you could blow away your friends when you're making cocktails at your parties. And honest to God, I love good ice. I fucking love good ice. I buy the molds at home. They never work out. You'll hear about it in this interview. So I was excited. And then I packaged that together with Bernadette Buryeman of California Specialty Farms, and they've just got some gorgeous cocktail garnishes. So let me just play those two back to back. You'll figure out who's who. I love this. I got drawn over to this because you have all these crystal clear blocks and spheres of ice, which is, you know how hard I try to do that in my house and I can't get it done. And these are all beautiful, and they're for the home, right?
Correct. So we tried to replicate the bar experience for the at-home mixologist to create that higher-end feel. And the way we achieve the clarity is through a slow freeze process. So we go through a 3-day process, create a 300-pound block, eliminate all air, impurities, so you're left with a really dense, crystal clear product. So we then cut into spheres and cubes.
Well, they'll definitely blow away anybody at a cocktail party. I mean, they look amazing. Where can people buy these?
We're currently available in select markets in grocery chains and liquor stores. We actually have a store locator on iceblocksbyri.com/location. So go there, you type in your address, you'll find the retailer nearest you.
And that is ICEBLOX, by the way, if you're looking for that.com. Where are you guys based?
We are headquartered in Dallas.
Okay, cool. Anybody in Las Vegas, any retailers carrying this that you know of? I got to ask.
Absolutely. We're in Lee's Liquor, Liquor World, Total Wine. What else am I thinking?
That's okay. So everybody knows where to find them there. So that's really cool. So what inspired you to take this to the home audience? Because, you know, people have very mixed reactions when they see blocks like this in a bar. They usually love it right away. Then they find out what they're paying for the drinks in the bars that have the nice ice, and they're like a little upset about it. What inspired you to take this to the home mixologist?
I think we realized there's a need because people they want a nice cocktail. They're paying a premium for a high-end spirit, and so you obviously don't want to dilute it. You want to preserve the integrity of the cocktail. So we learned that some are, using molds and that type of thing, which gives you the shape, but don't necessarily give you the high-end kind of crystal clear, slow melting process. So kind of take that labor out of it and let us do the work for you. Take home a prepackaged.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that the reason, other than these just looking really, really cool, the reason that you get things like this, these larger ices, because it reduces the surface area and it reduces the melting in the way that, so you're watering down your drink less, correct?
Right, correct. So this, because of the slow melt, you really preserve the cocktail as it was intended to be drank. And you can see these have been out. We've got samples here. It's taken 3 hours to fully dissolve. So
yeah, and then the drink stays cold and it's not totally watered down. Does not happen at my house. I make these just with tap water. I do it with the stupid spheres, and I put them into an old fashioned, and they've cracked in half immediately.
Yeah. So yeah, you still got the air in there, and so you'll get the shape, but it's just not the same.
What's the price point?
This is about $6.99 to $8.99 for a 6-pack of cubes or spheres.
Cool. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I can't take these home because they'll melt in my car, so I'm sad. Bernadette, we're in sort of, I guess, a cocktail area, and all I see are these beautiful garnishes for cocktails that you're selling here. Could you tell everybody what it is that you're showing off here at the Fancy Food Show right now?
So right now we're currently showing our dried fruit line, which product comes out of Thailand. It currently consists of blood oranges, grapefruit, pineapples, red and white dragon fruit, pomelo rinds, limes, lemons, mango sticks. We are using that product right now currently for garnishing some drinks, infusing water, infusing different flavors and teas.
And I'm assuming, actually, I'm not going to assume anything. Do you sell primarily to bars and restaurants or to the general public?
To the general public, to retailers, any type of bakeries, any type of cocktail lines.
Cool. So if you want to make a fancy cocktail that looks just as cool as the ones you get in the fancy Las Vegas bars, this is the kind of stuff you want to pick up. And I'm looking at you even have, are those edible flowers?
Those are edible flowers. And then we have decorative orchids that we sell as well. For cakes, any type of bakery items, for your cocktail drinks, or just to put on the side of a nice steak dinner.
Rich, anybody else, any other tapes you want to intro or you want to tell us about, or you want to put a little montage together, things that we haven't had, done yet?
Yeah, here's just who knows what. I'll ask them who they are, what they're selling, and how's it going.
This is the figure it out for yourself section.
Exactly.
My name is Sean Conant. This is my brand of Bad Boy hot sauce, named after my character on Cobra Kai, Karate's Bad Boy Mike Barnes. And this right here is Red Pepper Punch. It's red pepper, it's got jalapeno puree, garlic, green onion, and cilantro.
This is the one you've poured me here. Let's see if it's going to kill me. Yeah, I see what you mean. The slogan is flavor over fire.
Flavor over fire.
There's a little bit of fire there. It's coming out later.
Right.
But, yeah, the flavor hit me good.
I'm Kylie with BWI, and we import all of the goods in from the UK and Ireland and wholesale distribute here in the US. You are holding an awesome bag of Bert's potato chips.
I got the classics, but I also have a couple of other things here. Tell me about them.
Well, you've got a mature cheddar and onion, which is made with a British-made mature cheddar cheese, which leaves a really awesome flavor on the chip. And then the prawn cocktail, which honestly has its own lore. It does have a really awesome flavor of like a sweet, succulent shrimp that's been dipped in cocktail sauce.
So both the shrimp and the cocktail sauce and the potato, all there living in harmony.
They are, and they make for a phenomenal chip flavor.
All right, what's your name? What are you selling?
My name's Joe. We're selling memories. We have Blackjack chewing gum, which is the oldest chewing gum brand in the world from 1884, and it was the first flavored chewing gum with licorice. And we have Beeman's Clove and Tea Berry as well.
How hard was it to find the rights to this stuff and the recipes and get production going?
So it took a long time. We bought the rights in 2017 from Mondelez because they were releasing it every 3 years, very limited, and you couldn't get it every day anymore. It took almost 2.5 years to get the flavor right and get everything exactly how we wanted it.
What is your name and what are you selling?
Lisa Herlinger, Bougie Brown Butter.
What is Bougie Brown Butter?
Bougie Brown Butter is grass-fed salted butter that we cook down to perfection of browned milk solids, and we reform it into cubes, blocks, and sticks, making brown butter easy to use and enjoy.
Where does one use brown butter? I see it once in a while and try to make it, and I said, no, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, really, it translates everywhere you would use butter. It'll enhance and elevate that flavor. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you put it on your bagel, you put it a little bit in your oatmeal. Some people put it in their coffee and their tea. It makes a beautiful finisher to a grilled steak when it comes off. Roasted vegetables, potatoes, pasta, everything.
What's your name and what are you selling?
Well, I'm Serge Bruno, and I'm selling fromage guillotot, fromage dauphinois, which is a soft ripped cheese made in France.
So you guys have been around America for a while.
Yeah, we are in America since the 90s, and it was the first country we export cheese outside of Europe. And since then, the Americans fell in love with fromage dauphinois, and you can find it mostly everywhere in the good supermarkets.
I remember in my youth and even middle age, when Americans talked about brie or camembert, everybody went, ooh, stinky cheese from France. But now it's everywhere, and people have embraced it.
Yeah, sure, and especially now the brie has become something like more generic. Some people call a brie what is soft ripped cheese, and our brie, in fact, is not a brie technically, but it has got a specific technology which make it more softer and less pungent at the end of the shelf life. That's why also the Americans love our product.
You dumbed it down for us.
Yeah, sure. We created for you.
Yeah, I think it's time for Al's Figure It Out For Yourself section. Here's just a bunch of people I talked to. So what does Rhonda's Fine Foods offer, and what are you showing off here at the show?
Oh gosh, we are a small family-owned, woman and minority-owned brand featuring family recipes inspired by flavors of the world. We have an internationally inspired line of dips, sauces, and spreads. We launched our Sophie Award-winning Original Romesco a few years ago. We have Spicy Romesco, and then our newest is Rhonda's Original Muhammada from the Middle East. It's a walnut, California pomegranate molasses dip sauce spread with sumac, the Aleppo pepper, walnuts, and then we have the Romescos, our California almond, roasted red pepper, garlic, tomatoes, spices, and olive oil. They are awesome on charcuterie boards. They are great on sandwiches, seafood, poultry, meat, super diverse product.
Awesome. So have you found that the American public is getting more open to a wider variety of flavor profiles? I mean, the fact that you're getting Middle Eastern things and all this other stuff. So is there a need for that? Are people just more curious?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people, first of all, they love to cook and cook at home, right? They're looking for all natural, healthy alternatives, and I definitely think that recipes kind of featuring global flavors are very hot right now, and not everybody though wants to go out and spend a lot of money on different very specific items, spices. The Muhammada especially, you're talking the Aleppo pepper, you're talking sumac, California pomegranate molasses, walnut. These are very premium, the olive oils, premium products that you're going to spend a lot of money if you're going to go out and try and make these at home. And so we really offer, the consumer an all-natural, low-carb, gluten-free, vegan product that they can be really happy about serving. You can use it on a charcuterie board, then you can put it on your fish for dinner or your sandwich for lunch. So I think that the American consumer is definitely open to trying some of these global flavors, and it makes it really easy to do that when you're just buying one product and then you can try something new.
Wow, how many people were clamoring for vegan marshmallows? So hit me with that, man.
Well, first of all, I'll say that we've been in business since 2009 as a marshmallow manufacturer, so there are plenty of customers out there that are looking for it. As far as what's in a conventional marshmallow that's not vegan, it's gelatin. It's an animal-based ingredient. A lot of people don't know what it is. It's really gnarly. It's really yucky. I encourage you to look it up, but only if you don't have a weak stomach. Our customer set comes from all walks of life. We have customers that aren't vegetarian. They just want a cleaner marshmallow. So we still use sugar in our marshmallow. It's still a candy, but we use cleaner ingredients. We don't use corn syrup. We don't use artificial flavors, no artificial colors. So it's a healthier treat, marginally healthier. Right. But it's a healthier treat.
Cool. What do you use to substitute?
So a little bit of it's magic that happens behind the scenes. So we do our own manufacturing. We rebuilt that from the ground up to do what we needed to do. Which was make a vegan marshmallow. Also, in place of the corn syrup, we use tapioca syrup.
Okay, when I see a sign that says Gowan's Heirloom Cider, I'm trying to figure out, is this a beverage? Is this something that's going to get me drunk? What's it all about?
Could get you drunk. You'd have to work a little hard about it. Most people don't use this as their first choice for getting drunk. So we are a 150-year-old family farm, 6 generations, same land, some same trees. We grow all the apples ourselves, and we bottle it on the estate, so it's estate grown and bottled. They've won some of the top awards in the world for cider, wine, and in beer competitions. And we have a panel of 7 ciders we brought along to do some tasting.
So is this meant to be used as a mixer? Is this meant to be drank straight?
Mostly drank straight. We do a couple fun things with it, like we actually do, we can do a mimosa with one of our ciders that we really like that way. We've have had people do it with a mixer with some apple brandy. Most of the time people are drinking it straight. You're drinking an 8-ounce or a pint. These really pretty bottles are about a pint. And most of them we have 100 different types of apples that we grow that the family's curated over all these 6 generations. And so we do some single varietals. In fact, we just won best in class for 4 of our ciders at the largest wine competition in America.
Wow.
And so we're getting to taste all that today. So we have our Gravenstein, our Pinot Rosé cider, which is a blend of apples and grapes. We're in Mendocino County in Anderson Valley, so it's kind of used to be the heartbeat of all the apples in California. Okay. Now there's a lot of wines that decided that it was also a good place to grow grapes. So now we have both. That's sort of a meeting of neighbors. And then we have a classic wassail or spiced apple. Tastes like apple pie, smells like Christmas, tastes like apple pie. And that's really yummy too. And then we have our Gravenstein, our McIntosh, and our classic dry, which just won a gold at the Great American Beer Festival. Wow. And our McIntosh. So lots of fun stuff.
So what does Rhonda's Fine Foods offer, and what are you showing off here at the show?
Oh gosh, we are a small family-owned, woman and minority-owned brand featuring family recipes inspired by flavors of the world. We have an internationally inspired line of dips, sauces, and spreads. We launched our award-winning, Sophie Award-winning Original Romesco a few years ago. We have Spicy Romesco, and then our newest is Rhonda's Original Muhammada from the Middle East. It's a walnut, California pomegranate molasses dip sauce spread with sumac, the Aleppo pepper, walnuts, and then we have the romescos, our California almond, roasted red pepper, garlic, tomatoes, spices, and olive oil. They are awesome on charcuterie boards. They are great on sandwiches, seafood, poultry, meat, super diverse product.
Awesome. So have you found that the American public is getting more open to a wider variety of flavor profiles? I mean, the fact that you're getting Middle Eastern things and all this other stuff. So is there a need for that? Are people just more curious?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people, first of all, they love to cook and cook at home, right? They're looking for all natural, healthy alternatives, and I definitely think that recipes kind of featuring global flavors are very hot right now, and not everybody though wants to go out and spend a lot of money on different very specific items, spices. The Muhammada especially, you're talking the Aleppo pepper, you're talking sumac, California pomegranate molasses, walnut. These are very premium, the olive oils, premium products that you're going to spend a lot of money if you're going to go out and try and make these at home. And so we really offer, the consumer an all-natural, low-carb, gluten-free, vegan product that they can be really happy about serving. You can use it on a charcuterie board, then you can put it on your fish for dinner or your sandwich for lunch. So I think that the American consumer is definitely open to trying some of these global flavors, and it makes it really easy to do that when you're just buying one product and then you can try something new.
Jen, could you tell me what you are here showing off today?
We are showing off our traditional street foods of India, which is the pani puri. This is found throughout all of India, and it's just like basically finding a hot dog cart. You'll find one in every corner. And what it is a little hollow pastry that you poke a hole in. You put the potatoes and chickpeas with some sauce and some sweet sauce, and then we have tamarind waters in different flavors. So we have about 7 flavors, and you eat it in one bite. Okay. And here we're trying to showcase not just the traditional one, but also non-traditional, which is the taco bites. So you can use these pastries to make taco bites, caprese salad, desserts, edible shots.
Okay. But in India, it's one specific dish, and that tends to be the popular street food you were saying, correct?
Yes, correct. So it's the traditional that we started off with. We're about 17 years old now. So now we're trying to shift our direction and showcase it in a new way.
So I'm showing off gingerbread houses. We do it in a pre-built format as well as a kit format. We're currently selling it in Canada and in US in a pre-built format, like I said, mainly for Costco USA, that's a national program, Sam's Club as well, and then Walmart US and other accounts around.
Okay, tell me the difference between a pre-built one, which I assume comes just as you need to put it out, and then what goes on with the kits.
So the pre-build, obviously, it's extremely easy for a mom like myself. If you don't want to waste your time and have a meltdown on the floor with a kid, obviously. So they just open the kit. It comes with pre-made already icing and usually 5 to 6 varieties of candies. Same with the kit, but the kit we do it with a little plastic tray that kind of guide a consumer to where and how to put the walls together. Our icing, we call it a Godzilla icing because it's like cement once it's dry. So hopefully that will also be with no meltdowns, hopefully on the floor.
Right. How old would the kids have to be able to put something like this together?
If it's a pre-built, they can decorate it as little as 3 to 4 years old. If it's a kid, you do need a parental assistant. I would say 10 years old will be able to build his own. Otherwise, mom or dad needs to help, definitely.
And of course, everybody gingerbread, it's a Christmas thing, and I see all these Christmas decorations, and you got the trains and all that stuff. But I'm looking over your shoulder, and I see a spooky house over there. Tell me about that.
Yes. We do have a Halloween. It's another good season for us. We do a couple of houses. Although Christmas is dominating the market, obviously, but we kind of piggyback on that holiday, and we do it either in a house or in a little cookie kit where there's a really spooky Halloween cookies and a kid decorates them with a little icing tube and candies. So, yeah.
Okay, and final question. Are these intended to be eaten at the end of the holiday season?
Freaking-lutely. I say do eat, do enjoy. Obviously, again, small candy I recommend not for small kids under 3, but we bake them very fresh. We try to ship them as they leave. 18 months shelf life on the gingerbread kit, which is great. Not refrigerated, not frozen, because it's going to ruin the texture of it, but it has a good shelf life on it.
Any other flavors?
Yes, we do have a vanilla flavor, and the Halloween actually comes in chocolate.
And we've been eating these chips, and who should wander past us than the one and only Sarah Lohman of Vegas City Cast.
Hey.
How are you, Sarah?
Oh my gosh, good. I had a day of rest yesterday. I don't think I can do all 3 days of this, but there's just never enough time. There's never enough time to see it all. But I love the connections and the conversations that I have here. And I as I just told you, full disclosure, I just got a little drunk at cider food at a hard cider booth where I ended up doing a whole flight. So that happened.
They had good hard cider, man.
Really?
I enjoy that stuff, yeah.
Old family band, but now I have to remember the name of it, which was erased from my brain because they made me do a whole cider flight. Lovely people, 6th generation family farm.
While
family
you're killing
orchard.
time, are you going to do the podcast down here like we are?
Yes. Goins. They're north of San Francisco. They're one of the last orchard holdouts in wine country, essentially, in Mendocino. Really, really lovely cider. And they have an apple that basically only exists on their farm, too. It's a sole survivor.
Cool. As I was telling them over there, cider was like the preferred drink of underage skinheads' girlfriends at CBGB's in the 90s, man.
Slightly more cool than like a wine cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the woodchuck era. And, bless them.
What? No Zima?
Oh, my God, yes, of course. This was my youth, my misspent youth. Woodchuck does a ton of great work in the industry now, but it is amazing to see how far we've come in cider in just 10 years.
Yeah.
The industry has literally grown tenfold from about 100 cideries to over 1,000 in America now. And it serves a really important purpose. It also preserves, we've lost tens of thousands of apples that were cider apples. There's this treasure hunt aspect to it, too, because literally people are going into the forest and rediscovering 150-year-old trees and saving them from the brink of extinction. So drinking cider preserves genetic diversity.
You should definitely drink more cider. And I'll never forget my first time in England, still drunk off the overseas flight.
Yeah.
Went to the supermarket in London with our friends who were putting us up at their flat. And I could not believe I could buy Woodpecker Extra Strong cider in 2-liter bottles at the supermarket,
you can.
man.
Should you?
Oh, I should. Well, no, the fact that I ended up puking all over that guy's dad's car the next day driving up to northern England means I should not have.
God. England and France and Spain have maintained their traditional cider culture, but we had a major break over Prohibition, both to the fact that even having an apple tree in your backyard was what are they doing with those apples? It was a moral thing. That's also when the expression, an apple a day keeps a doctor away, originated. During Prohibition, basically the Apple board put that out there to start associating apples with health instead of drinking. So we had a huge break in our cultural knowledge, so I'm so happy to see it coming back.
Yeah, excellent. Well, you are an official trend spotter.
I am.
Here.
Yes.
And that's a cool gig if you can get it.
It is, yes.
Although it's a lot of pressure. I was telling my wife as we were walking around yesterday, it's I've worked trade shows for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's so different when you're trying to connect the dots so you can give people an overview.
Yeah.
And yet that's what I'm going to ask you to do for me.
Yeah.
So what are some of the big trends you saw here?
So some of the big trends. We do start with some categories, but often, you are finding patterns out there. And interestingly, we often see trends that contradict each other. One of our sort of official press relief trends is a little sugar, that people are coming back to natural sweeteners, but maybe less sweet products. A good example is proper syrups, which they're aiming to be both a retail space and a wholesale coffee house syrup. Very flavorful syrups, but they're a blend of sugar and agave, so they don't feel overly sweet. They feel instead very rich and flavorful. But on the flip side of that, a major trend I'm seeing is protein added, no added sugar, which haven't been my favorite foods, I'm not going to lie. But personally, I don't like the often bitter aftertaste that you can get from non-natural sweeteners.
Right.
But I understand that there's a variety of reasons that people might go that way, but added protein has been a huge thing. So we're both seeing a trend in using natural sugars and not using natural sugars, which is very contradictory.
That's also a it's highly processed stuff too,
Yes.
and that's sort of a contradiction to what everybody wants to do. They say they want to do is
health
go
food
natural.
is often incredibly highly processed.
Yeah.
So it's all choices and it's all tools. I really strive to not moralize food, but it's not my personal preference. I'm more of like a moderation person when I'm not at the fancy food show as a trend spotter. I would rather real sugar than fake sugar, but also medically some people can't engage with sugar anymore. So they're both sort of serving a spectrum of events.
Yeah. One of the people presenting at the Fancy Face Off yesterday where I was emceeing, a company called Ringa. And they're a soft drink company.
I saw them,
and
yeah.
like no sugars, no sugar substitutes. They actually are using apple cider vinegar.
Interesting.
And so it's got that tartness. And there was an interesting conversation with the judges as to whether they should claim that, right? Instead of just having it in there, calling it unapologetically tart. Right?
Oh,
to
I love
show
that.
you're not going with sugar. So there was definitely a conversation about, easing the amount of sugar.
And you know what? That's another big trend we're seeing is vinegar, and especially vinegar drinks too, which have long been a part of traditional Asian cultures, but also we have a history of that here in the United States. There's Ringa, that you mentioned, Ringa. I saw them. There's another drink that was like a honey drink with just a little bit of honey and some lemon juice, and that really reminded me of things like switchel, and shrubs, these old American, and that go back actually to like Rome, these historical ways of hydrating because it's a little sweet, it's a little tangy, but it's a great like electrolyte restorative too. So I've seen things related to like swidge. I'm sorry, I told you I was drunk. Switchels and shrubs and things like that happening over the years, but not yet catching on. But I think as American demographics change and we continue to have more immigrants coming from Asia, where again, those drinks have stayed around, I think we're going to see them more in sort of a broadly like Pan-American market.
Now, we had you on the show before this happened, and you were saying one of the trends you were really looking for is a lot more Asian flavor profiles.
Yes.
Southeast Asian in specific, I believe you said, but I'm not sure.
Yep.
So did it prove true? Did what you thought was going to be here end up being here?
Yeah, so one of my colleagues, Jen from Randwiches, she's named the trend Move Over Matcha because I feel at this point, like the broader American public is pretty familiar with matcha, both as the color, the flavor, the tea, a pastry flavor is really how it came here. And that was sort of the leading edge of the trend of these East Asian flavors. What we're seeing now is hojicha, which is like a tea that is a toasted tea. And so it's usually made into milk tea, so it has these nutty toasted elements. And we're seeing that as both a drink and as a syrup too. Seeing lots of ube here and also purple sweet potato, both Japanese and Hawaiian purple sweet potato. And I mean, of course, black sesame has been sort of ongoing as well. So we're seeing more related flavors that both have a lot of visual appeal, and I think their initial impact with it was in the Instagram generation, but luckily they also taste amazing. So these are flavors that are definitely going to stay around.
Okay, I got to say, man, you gave a better analysis of everything than Rich and I have done all our time here.
I'm a professional.
Basically, I know. Well, we're supposed to be
That's why you
professionals.
beat me out of that job at Vegas, the podcast.
Tell people where they can hear you on Vegas CityCast.
You can hear me on CityCast Las Vegas anywhere you get your podcasts. You can, of course, check out our website. We're on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And then, of course, just check out our website, too, and make sure you sign up for the Hey Las Vegas newsletter as well, especially if you are a foodie, because our newsletter editor, Rob Castlereese, shout out. He was here yesterday, too.
Was he?
I bet he's going to round up a little bit of what he saw on the show as well.
Tell people how they can support Vegas CityCast. You've got a program out, right, where you could, I know I threw a little money your way to get some bonus stuff, right?
Yeah, we've got a membership program, which is going to be relaunched soon with new benefits. So we'll see what happens. But first of all, you get ad-free listening, which I love as a podcast listener. You're going to get some bonus content as far as episodes. We do giveaways and ticket giveaways, and we're going to have more fun stuff and more events and meetups as the big plan for 2025 too. And it's cheap. I think it's like $80 a year. That's it. Cool. And it's worth it for that ad-free stream alone.
Cool. I'm also going to throw out for myself, I'm going to be on CityCast sometime
Yes, you are.
By the time you hear this, it may have just come out or it may be be coming out in the future.
Probably Thursday.
But go and look for me. So it may have come out the day before this podcast drops, so go take a look for it. And we talk about up-and-coming food neighborhoods. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. It was the easiest episode I've ever recorded.
Well, I try to be easy. Easy Al.
And really good food recommendations for basically let's get out of the Arts District. What's out there,
Well, cool. Well, thanks for your time.
My pleasure,
Go
Al.
get more drunk.
We'll see.
So, of course, you're hungry after a hard day of work or a hard night of play. This is Vegas, after all. So where do you go? What do you want? What's left in your wallet? What's left in your credit? The answer is 2 words: Neon Feast. It's the app that will get you to the best place no matter what. The mood you're in, the budget you have, the cuisine you want to eat, the hotel, the neighborhood, the town you're in, or the one you want to go to. It's all there on the Neon Feast app. Download it. Tell it your every desire. I mean your every food desire. And then get satisfied. And again, we're talking about food. It's the Neon Feast app or online at neonfeast.com.
Well, it is time for the news, and we don't have a lot this week, honestly, because I've been here.
Yeah, we are the news.
I am the news, and I haven't been answering anybody's emails and even reading half of them this week. So if you sent me something cool that you have going on, I'll get to you next week, I promise. But there are a couple things I didn't want to miss. This Saturday night, the evening of January 25th, from 11 p.m. till 2 a.m. the next Sunday morning, Chef Brian Howard is going to host the next event in Sparrow Wolf's late night takeover series, which is called Bar Snacks. This time around, it's going to be Alan Mardonovich of Amari, and we love him, and Nico Castagliola of Guy Savoy. I mean, it don't get much better than that.
Oh, maybe.
They're both going to be offering tastes of the Côte d'Azur, which I guess is the French Riviera as it approaches that border with Italy, so there's influences and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And and of course, Brian will be participating in that, Chef Brian Howard. They have some mixologists that are coming as well. I sat down with Chef Alan to talk about it. Here's what he had to say.
So Bar Snacks, it's just going to be kind of an opportunity for us to showcase some inspiration from Northern Italy to kind of collaborate with Brian and Nico, 2 really good colleagues and friends that we're going to kind of go with an inspiration from a little Côte d'Azur. Which is obviously, shares with France and Italy. So it's a great, I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of showcase some fun items.
You have an incredibly busy restaurant. Clearly, so do Brian, so does Nico, right? So what inspires you guys after a long day at work, after all that you do, to then go out late at night and just do these weird pop-up things? What's the inspiration for that?
Well, I think it's staying inspired, and when you get to work with your colleagues or your respected chefs within the communities, just doing something that's out of your norm, it's always very motivating. And to be able to give back to other restaurants, you're still contributing to what your brand is and your ethos, but you're being able to collaborate and kind of share everybody's network.
And any ideas what's going to be on the menu yet?
Definitely some inspiration based from what we do, some familiarity. We're going to be doing like a truffle corsetti, do kind of a play on some salmon with a vegetable brodo with pishtu. I'm going to be doing like a beef cheek dish, and then I got a surprise dish that I'll probably disclose closer to the day of.
And damn, has a year gone by already? Got to get this one in here because right around the corner from where we're standing, Siegel's Bagel Mania. I almost said Beagle Mania.
That's a whole other thing.
And if it was a beagle eating championship, that would be fucked up. So there's no beagle eating championship.
No.
Siegel's Bagel Mania, which is right here by the convention center, and it's a great spot to go for over the top, like almost New York style deli shit. It's just tourist. But yeah, it's fantastic. They're going to host another World Bagel Eating Championship on February 1st, and the legendary Joey Chestnut will be there defending the championship he won last year. I was there last year. I spoke to Joey just after his win, and here's a bit of what he told me about eating 15 bagels with cream cheese to take the belt.
The Siegel bagels, these are real bagels. They're boiled and baked. They're delicious. But it's hard to get them. Like, I live in Indiana. You can't get a real New York bagel in Indiana.
And let me just slip in here a day after the fancy food show ended for a little late-breaking news. 4 Las Vegas chefs and 1 sommelier have made the initial cuts for this year's James Beard Awards. In the category of Best Chef Southwest, Vegas's 4 semifinalists are DJ Flores of Milpa, Sarah Thompson of Casa Playa, Michael Vacnine of Double Zero Pie and Pub, and Elazar Villanueva of Restaurant de Joel Robuchon. A semifinalist for Outstanding Professional in Beverage Service is Christy Norman of Delilah. The lists of semifinalists in each category will be pared down to the nominees on April 2nd, and the winners will be announced at the James Beard Restaurant and Chef Awards ceremony June 16th in Chicago. Congratulations to our locals, and good luck to all 5.
And what? We got anything else?
No. I wish we could stay here all day and do a 4-hour show.
But you got to go loot people.
I've got to go on a rampage, yes. Sack the entire venue here. And there's so much. There's far more possible stuff to take than either of us have room for. I did not bring a wagon. I talked to Lindsay of the Las Vegas Foodie. She said she's bringing a wagon.
Her little red wagon?
Yeah.
Oh, man. What else? There was something else I wanted to get out there today and remind people of. Oh, you know what? I was talking with some people at Border Grill. You know, last week we talked about everybody who's doing all the relief efforts for the Southern California fires, right? So I was chatting with some friends. Who are you waving at over
the potato chip girl.
Oh, the potato chip girl. You missed her.
And English stuff. She was gonna come.
I just want to send a shout out before we leave to Mary Sue and Susan. Mary Sue Feniger, Mary Sue Milliken, Susan Feniger of Border Grill. You know, I had reached out to their people about something completely unrelated, and of course they got back to me and said they're doing all kinds of shit with Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen. They're putting out a ton of meals out there in Southern California. I'm hopefully going to have them on within the next week or two to talk about all the great things they're doing. But, you know, I just want to acknowledge anybody that I hear of who's just really helping in that horrible situation. Indeed. So, you know, we love you, Mary Sue and Susan. Thanks for what you do out there.
Well said. That's it for this week. Thanks to all our guests. We have no idea who they are anymore because there's just too many to remember.
Yeah.
I'm Rich Johnson. That's Al Mancini. Samantha Gemini Stevens is home. Get well, stay well, and you stay hungry.